Welcome to this week's episode of The Savvy Author. I'm your host, Clara Rose. If this is your first time with us, welcome. Every week we talk about all of the things that are necessary to successfully publish your book. So, welcome to the show. If you are returning, welcome back. This week we're going to talk about something that I get a lot of questions about, and that is traditional publishing. We are definitely living in a time when it's super easy to publish, super hard to get a traditional publisher to pick you up. So we're going to talk about some of the things that it's going to take if that's your goal. Now, if that's not your goal, you're thinking, no, I'm going to hybrid publish, or perhaps I'm even going to self-publish, find an indie publisher. It's not necessarily your goal to be a traditionally published. I have some good information for you, so stick around. All right, let's hop right in. Let's talk about publishing facts. There's some things that you just need to know about the publishing world if you don't know them. New books exceed 4 million annually. That's a lot of books, isn't it? That is a lot of books. So if you're thinking, I'm going to put out a book on, whatever your topic is, and you're thinking you're going to be the only one in the marketplace with that particular book, you are sadly mistaken, or that particular topic is what I'm saying. 4 million new books coming out annually is a lot of books. Okay, the available titles that are already out there, not counting the new ones that come out each year, exceeds 20 million. That's a lot of books. Now, I'm not trying to discourage you. I'm just trying to help you get a sense of the volume that's already out there, the volume of authors, the volume of books that are already out there. Now, this is all books. Both of these statistics are all books. That's traditional, published, indie publishers, hybrid publishers, self-publishers. This is just a total. And of course, these numbers are probably a couple years old because that's just the way that stats work. We don't have anything, of course, for last year's stats. And it could be that this could be 2020 stats or even 2019 stats. So it takes a while to calculate all of those things and then get them out to the world for everybody. So when you think 20 million titles already out there, super important for you to find a way to stand out, for your published work, your book to stand out a little bit. And of course, I work with my authors on making sure that we do that. And that starts with that very first process, which is research. It is not as glamorous as maybe the rest of the work, but research is step number one and super important. If you don't find a way to stand out, you will definitely get lost in the millions of titles that are already out there. Okay, so not to discourage you, but let's continue with our facts, shall we? Next fact. Book sales have declined 42% since 2017. Now, I hear the air going out of your lungs. I see your eyes rolling. I know that sounds discouraging, but just because sales have dropped doesn't necessarily mean it isn't a great idea to have a book. It just means that people aren't purchasing books like they used to purchase books. They're purchasing books in other ways. They're consuming content in other ways, of course. And yes, they're still buying books, but sales have dropped. Now, consider that there are so many more people writing books than ever before. In the days when you didn't have the option to self-publish, or self-publishing was really, really complicated, there were fewer books being published. Now there are more books being published, and that actually contributes somewhat to the decline in the number of sales just by comparison. All right, let's move on to the next fun fact. All right, ebooks are stagnant. ebook sales are stagnant. Ebooks are still a great supplement to a physical book. So if you have and all of my authors, we talk about this option. If you're coming out with a physical book, an ebook is a great bonus giveaway. An ebook is a great thing that you can put on a website. It's something that doesn't physically cost you once it's produced. So think about your ebook in this way. An ebook is kind of like a lead magnet. It's something that you can give away, doesn't cost you to print it, right? Because it's an electronic, it's a digital version of your book. It's formatted a little differently because of readers and how they read your book versus a physical book. So the process is actually two-step. We do the physical book first, and then we do a conversion and make it into an ebook. You lose a lot of graphics, and the formatting's way different, and you lose back cover and some of those things, but it's still a really great supplement to that physical book. Now, in the past, I've seen a large number of, I'm going to call them maybe book coaches or people out there saying, just do an ebook, get it out there, that's all you need. But I'm here to tell you that the stats just don't play out, and they're declining. So, all that to say, yes, still do an ebook, but do your physical book first. All right, let's move on to the next publishing fact that you need to know. Okay, so less than 1% of new books have a chance of being stopped. All right, you're like, Clara, don't tell me that. I'm never writing my book now. 1%. So of the 4 million new books that are coming out every year, you have a 1% chance of making it to the bookshelf in Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, local bookstores, whoever is still out there in the physical book establishments, which they have dwindled significantly, of course, with online sales of books. And the big guys make it super easy to just go in, order your book, and next day sometimes it's in your hot little hand. So unless you're someone like me, who I love bookstores, I love to go into the bookstore and browse the books, and if they have a coffee shop, that's even better. They're my friend. I'm going to get my coffee, I'm going to browse the books, and then my favorite places always have the chairs, the places that you can actually physically sit down to peruse through your book, and a place to sit your coffee. I could spend the day at the bookstore just perusing, looking for new books to buy. I collect them, I think. I have like stacks. There's a stack on my nightstand. There's a stack on my desk of books that I'm either currently reading, several at a time, or I'm going to read them because I'm super excited about the topic. And then, of course, on top of that, I have authors sending me books to say, hey, would you review my book? Or I'd love to be on your show. Would you interview me about my book? So I'm always getting new books, and I love books. Now, I'm probably the exception, and hopefully bookstores will continue to be there and they won't go away, but I love that kind of thing. So getting a book on the bookshelf is super exciting for somebody like me who, that's a place that I love. It sets my heart on fire, I should say. So if I think, all right, 1% of the books out there are going to hit the shelf, how can I stand out? How can I be one of those people? Of course, there are no guarantees that we can get you there, but I work with my authors specifically with some different tips and tricks to help get you on the shelf, because there's nothing more exciting than walking into a bookstore and seeing your book sitting on the shelf. Super exciting feeling. Selfies, the whole bit. It's super exciting time. Okay, let's move on. So the next publishing fact that you need to know is that most marketing is now done by authors. I'm going to talk about that in a second, but let's talk really quickly about audiobooks, because it happens to be the fastest growing segment, but is still only about 10% of the marketplace. So it's certainly not your first go-to for a book, an audiobook, but if you have a physical book, if you have an ebook, an audiobook is a great option. Now, it's a different format, but there are a lot of people who are currently doing audiobooks like podcasts and things of that nature. So it's really a great way to just get one more audience paying attention to you. And of course, our entire goal as a savvy author is to craft our message for the world, right? We have something to say and we want to get it out into the world, and this is how we're going to do it, is with our book. So a physical book, that's somebody, I'm like me, I want the real thing. I want a real book in my hot little hand. I want to smell the new book smell. I want to put my little bookmark in there. I want a tangible product. Some people want to read it on their phone. Some people want to do it on their iPad, their whatever, right? Whatever digital device you use. Some people want to read on the fly. They want to read that way. I see people at the gym, like, I don't even know how you do that. How do you walk on a treadmill and focus on your phone? I just don't know, but the people are doing it. And then there are those people who have the little earbuds in and they're listening to things, right? They have a traveling entertainment or traveling, maybe it's their education, which is an awesome idea. Put in your headphones, your earbuds, whatever. Turn on a podcast, turn on an audiobook. So don't discount audiobooks because they're only 10% of the market currently. I encourage you that is a great add-on. And bonus, it's also digital, right? It's not something that costs you every time someone purchases it. So if you think about a physical book, every time somebody purchases a physical book from you, there's a production cost. Somebody prints it, somebody ships it, it's a physical thing, and there's cost for the author to incur. Or if you're traditionally published, the publishing house picks up those expenses. But either way, those all cut into your bottom line ultimately. Okay, all right, so let's backtrack for just a minute and talk about what I first was talking about there is most marketing is now done by the author. There was a time in life, in history, where book publishing companies, publishing houses paid big money to do the marketing of books. They sent authors on book tours, book signing tours, and got them on TV shows, and just spent a ton of money on marketing. If they thought that they were going to make a ton of money, it was going to be a bestseller, a great book, they were willing to spend the money to market it well. But gone are those days, unfortunately, unless you are a celebrity, perhaps, you're a big name already, then it behooves them to spend a little bit to say, hey, guess what? This famous person, we published their book, right? More book sales, more money in their pocket. Now, of course, more money in their pocket, more money in the agent's pocket, and then the royalties are still pretty small for authors traditionally published anyway. But, so there you have it. The big publishing houses are no longer footing the bill for marketing of books. So what do I mean by the authors are doing the publishing, or doing the promoting? I mean, traditional book publishers specifically are looking for people who already have an audience. Right, so you might have the best idea for a book, or you might have the most awesome book that you're working on. You know it's going to just be a smashing success. A publishing house is going to look at it from a totally different perspective. Right? Does this person have an audience that they can market to? Does this person have a huge following? How visible is this person online? How much influence? And if you know me at all, you follow me at all, I talk about influence a lot and how much it really does matter, how important it is. If you don't have those things, often they will not pick you up because you don't have a following. That means you're not going to probably have the ability to market your book effectively unless you're willing to spend a lot of money on it, and they won't make as much money ultimately. So there you have it. If you are thinking, I'm going to traditional publish, make sure that you have a nice following in place before you start querying for that. Talk about that later, another day. All right, let's move on. The good news, after I've given you all of this seemingly bad news, the good news, it still works. Writing a book is still the best way to establish yourself as an expert in your field, and the fastest way for you to create influence. Influence that does something that really matters, that makes a difference by getting you leads, growing your business, growing your brand, and hiring a professional literary consultant to help you navigate the process is going to give you your greatest chances for publishing successfully. Now, you may or may not have ever heard of a literary consultant. We have all heard of, I'm sure, a literary agent, right? So we hear about publishing houses, we hear about get yourself an agent. It's kind of a mystical, magical, ooh, how does this work? We don't really know, especially in the beginning. And those are important things to understand. That's part of the process that an agent or a consultant is going to help you with. But a literary agent and a literary consultant are very different. And let's talk about what it is that each of them do and why they're different. Okay, so before we talk about them, let's talk about getting started. Right? Let's talk about getting started. Education matters. The more that you understand about the writing and publishing process, the better. Okay, if you're a brand new newbie, this really matters. And then, of course, that's why you're here, right, every week to listen to me talk about publishing successfully, becoming a savvy author, because I'm here to educate you. Now, certainly I'm not the only place in the world that you can get an education, but that's my goal, is to educate you each week. All right, what else matters? Strategy matters. When you're getting started, strategy matters. Plan to write that book that's going to become the tool that you need it to be. Now, I might hear you saying, tool, I don't understand, I just want to publish a book. I'm talking about the tool that makes a difference in your business, ministry, cause, or brand. That's the bulk of the work that I do. Not that I haven't done other work with authors, but like a couple of children's books, some memoirs, some of those kinds of things. But my specialty is helping people create a book, a business brand book, or a business book that does something specific. It becomes a tool, right? We're not just writing it willy-nilly for no reason. We want to have something in our hot little hand that's going to make a difference in our business or our brand. That's what I mean when I say that you need a strategy. Plan to write the right book. Okay, what else matters? Formatting matters. Formatting matters. A well-formatted book will sell better, and you need a professional for this. It's nothing more frustrating to me than just to get my hands on a really great content book, and it's so poorly formatted that it's distracting. Right? You open it up and nothing's justified, and things don't sit on the page nicely, and my first thought is this is a self-published book, and they didn't even have somebody format it for them. Not dissing anybody for that, but it makes a difference. It actually hurts your reputation, and it calls into question your professionalism when you have a poorly formatted book. Formatting matters. Okay, just get off my soapbox there. All right, what else matters? Well, everything matters. You know, hire a professional or an agency to help you manage all of the moving parts of becoming a published author. It isn't something that you just know, and you could Google, but I'm telling you, you're going to find a bunch of different people saying a bunch of different things. So aligning yourself with one specific person to help you navigate those waters just makes good sense. You want to have the best chance of success. That's what you're going to do. All right, now let's move on and talk about publishing and who can help you. So understanding the publishing world and the options available to you will help you avoid costly mistakes and retain ownership and creative control over your published works. If you think about the different people that are involved in traditional publishing specifically, which is what we're talking about today, the publishing house, they have ultimate creative control. That's just the way that that works. The literary agent has some creative control over that, but they're really deferring to the publishing house and what they think that publishing house will want, right? But ultimately, at the publishing house level, they can change anything without your consent. Right? So that there's a downside to being traditionally published in that they have the ultimate control. You don't get to be you get to say, yes, I like this, but if you say, you know what, I don't like this cover that you guys came up with, I'd like a different cover. You don't really have that ultimate control. They do. So just something to think about when you're doing traditional published. If you have a literary agent, you have different type of control than a literary consultant. So let's talk about that. What is the difference between an agent and a consultant? The literary agent and the literary consultant do different things. They bring something different to the table. So what does each of those do? Let's break that down for you so you have a better understanding of that. A literary agent finds the publisher and negotiates the contract. Now, that is an appealing thing if you're nervous about a contract, nervous about that piece between the negotiating piece, really. Now, what does it take to get an agent? Well, for the most part, an agent is that middle person who is shopping for an author with a title, with a book that they think will sell. Literary agents have relationships with traditional publishing houses. And that's why we're talking about them today. So if your goal is to be published with a traditional publishing house, one of the big boys, or even a small publishing house, most of them are going to require you to have an agent. And so the agent has relationships with their favorite publishing houses. Those relationships are what help get the deal done. And then they negotiate the terms. That's why a literary agent gets a piece of your pie forever and ever and ever. Did I mention they get a piece of your pie? Just saying. So the bulk of the money comes out for the publisher, and then the agent, for every sale of every book that you sell, gets a piece of the pie, and then you as an author get a royalty. Okay, so the smallest piece of the pie is always going to come to you if you go traditional publishing. Now, the upside is they may have the leverage to sell more books, and so that may be a good thing for you. Totally up to you whether you want to go traditional publishing or not. But that middle person, that literary agent, they are the negotiator of your contract, and they have the relationships that are going to help you get the deal. They will not take you on as an author if they don't think they can sell your book. They might like you as a person. They may love the idea, but if they don't think that it's going to sell, they're not going to take it on. And in fact, most agents have a genre that they work in, that they specialize in, because those are the relationships they have with the publishers. So they kind of stay in their lane, if you will. So your first step is always going to be to find the right agent that will have the right relationships to get you that contract and negotiate that contract for you. Okay, so that's a very different relationship than what you're going to have with a literary consultant. So let's talk about a literary consultant and what it is that they do. A consultant helps the author get the manuscript completed and ready for publishing. So that's everything from the idea about what the book is going to be about, to the research, to the, I call it brainstorm and blueprint. That's the process where we get all of that stuff out of your head onto digital, where we can do something with it, or onto paper is what I like to say, where we can do something with it, get it into an outline and do your book build. That's your blueprint for your book. Get you through the writing, developmental editing, if you need developmental editing, which many people do. Helps you stay connected to your outline, helps you get the work done, some accountability, and everyone needs an editor. If you've heard me ever speak anywhere about it, everyone needs an editor. I use an editor on my work. Some really famous people use hundreds of editors on their work. Editing matters. Nothing worse than finding errors after it's gone to press, right? You have in your little hand, you're like, oh, look, this word is wrong. That always sucks. So we'll try to avoid that, hiring an editor, having an editor. And then, of course, your completed manuscript being formatted. I guess it's not completed until we format it. Once it's formatted and ready for publication, then helping you make the right choice for publishing. Now, I have a press mark that some of my authors use when we publish as a hybrid. Some of my authors choose to be self-published. They want 100% control over it, and that's fine. And then some want traditional publishing, and then I help them with that next piece, or a literary consultant will help them with that next piece, which is finding a publishing house or finding an agent if the publishing house that they want to use does not take direct connections with authors, right? So the word just escaped me what they call that. But some publishing houses will work directly with you as an author and some will not. Some require an agent, and that requires you then to query and find an agent that wants to work with you. We're running out of time, but this topic is so big. I want to just briefly mention that as a literary consultant, I help you craft your message for the world, and that, of course, is what this show is 100% completely about. But if you're interested in more information, you can pop over to clararose.com and connect with me and get more information. Before we go today, I just want to talk about the program that I use to help new people, the new authors, to get started on this process so that you don't have to do it alone. Whether you want to try to do the rest of it alone is completely up to you, but I have a masterclass for you. It's called the Brainstorm and Blueprint Masterclass, and I do it pretty regularly, and it is a process where together as a group, a small group, we capture all of those book ideas that are floating around in your head, and then we organize those ideas into topics that are going to make sense to the reader in your book, and then create an outline for your book that the industry calls a book build, but I call a blueprint. This is where we really start to pull things together and create what your book is going to look like. And of course, we talk about formatting, we talk about some of those things, but the most important piece is that we create a strategy for the successful creation and publishing of your completed manuscript. Once you're done with all of these pieces and you're ready to do the work, you then roll out of the masterclass and you plug into the accountability group where everybody is getting their writing done. There really is no need to do this all alone. Having someone to walk you through the process is an invaluable thing. One of the beautiful things about the masterclass is you're doing it together with other people. So it's a great place to like bounce ideas off of others, and it's a great place to just collaborate. Seen some really cool things happen, had some partnerships happen. Just cool stuff happens when you get a bunch of like-minded people together in a group setting to collaborate on a project. And then, of course, rolling into the accountability becomes important because most authors really need accountability. Someone to say, hey, did you get your chapter written? Have you turned it into for editing? Those kinds of things. Okay, we are out of time for today, but I wanted to just really quickly say thank you to Tampa Bay Multimedia and WeBeam TV. It's where we are today, for they make this show truly possible, and I appreciate them. If you are interested in connecting with me, you can go to clararose.com and learn more about me, or find out how you can be a part of the very next Brainstorm and Blueprint Masterclass. Until then, I'm going to see you next week, same time, same place. Take care.